Hello, friends. Good evening from Jerusalem. Good evening from Sabil. We'd like to welcome you all, and there's multiple new people in the meeting. So thank you for joining us today, and thank you also for the people who have informed you about this event taking place. Since COVID, Sabil started to have weekly events, weekly meetings, Zoom meetings, that we try to update our friends and people who are interested to what is happening in Palestine, Israel. Each week we have a different topic. This is the topic of settlements and violence, settler violence. We're very glad that we have Ashraf Khatib. Ashraf is a friend, and he's also a neighbor to Sabil. He actually lives in the same building where our offices are. I know Ashraf for multiple years now. Ashraf is a good speaker and a good researcher, and is a well-informed activist of what is happening in Palestine. But I think, Ashraf, you can introduce yourself in a better way. May you please introduce yourself?
Well, first, I have to say good morning, good evening, or good afternoon to all. I know that you all are coming from different areas, different places in the world, and thank you very much for this opportunity and for the time. If you don't mind, I'll start by saying a few sentences about myself, and then we will talk about the topic for today, and we will leave more time for questions and maybe for discussion. My name is Ashraf Khatib. I'm a Palestinian from Jerusalem, born in Jerusalem. My family claimed that they have been in Jerusalem for hundreds of years. I grew up in a Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood. Educated my first school in St. George School in East Jerusalem. I did my first degree in University of Arkansas at Little Rock in the US. And my second degree, my master's degree from University of Birmingham in the United Kingdom. My first background of study is engineering and in the construction management. I did some of this up to the second Intifada. I lived in the US for around 10 years, and in Dubai for a couple of years, and I decided to come back during the second Intifada. So it's a tough decision to come back during the most toughest time Palestinian ever faced since through the history of the Israeli occupation of Palestine. When I came back, I did not work in the engineering or in the construction sector because there hasn't been anything being constructed at that time. Things were being destructed, unfortunately. I worked for different international agencies, including the United Nations. And then I had a chance to work for the ICRC, the International Committee for the Red Cross. And that was during the second Intifada. I managed during that time to work close in the field, working with people who are most affected by the Israeli military operation in the West Bank or in Gaza. That did equip me with some tools and made me feel more close to the Palestinian cause. And also it reminded us with what we refer to it in Nakba. The Nakba did not start and end in 1948. It's an ongoing Nakba for the Palestinians, and today Palestine and Palestinians, whether they are in the Palestinian land, in the West Bank and Gaza, including New Jerusalem, or the Palestinians in the who remained in today's state of Israel, are also facing what we refer to it in Nakba. In 2007, I started working for the PLO Negotiations Affairs Department. And this lasted for some time until 2015. And then I took a couple of years away and then came back, and I stayed there until 2020. My last former role in the PLO negotiations office was handling what is called the state-to-state file. And the state-to-state file looks at multiple issues between the state of Israel and the state of Palestine. I was in real negotiation between Israel and Palestine and Palestinians. And it's just to say that, negotiation is just something you hear about it and you listen and you read about it and you probably study about it. But when it comes to Israel-Palestine, there is also the third party or the people who are behind the scene, not only the usual suspects, the American administration, but also other actors who play a role either to support Israel or to weaken the Palestinian position. This lasted until 2020, and in 2020, I decided to no longer I'll be willing to stay in this position. And I started a new initiative with colleagues of mine in Palestine called Bridging Insights. I can talk about it later, but it is and it deals with the conflicts around the world, looking at different conflicts that has been resolved, and studying from academic, from academic. From the academia, and also looking at the Palestinian-Israeli issue or a conflict, or what is referred, if we refer to it as a conflict, then we will say that there's an issue, there is a problem even with using the word conflict when we talk about Palestine. So, this is, I'm married, I have children, and like Omar said, that we're neighbors in the same building, and I'm usually the guy who always keep him waiting until I move my car out, because I'm almost every day blocking his car. And today my wife did that, so Omar just, we'll take the car when we finish. So this is going to be a very, I guess, friendly conversation if I can. And I'll try to do as much as I can to talk about the settlements and the settler violence. Omar told me that all of you, if not most of you, are aware of the Palestinian issue, probably perhaps much better than more in details than what I'm going to say, but I will try to shed some light on some of the facts on the ground. I'll start, if you don't mind, by sharing a map of the West Bank, just to, if you have, can you see it? Just somebody just raise hand.
Yes, we see it.
Yes, Omar, can you see it? So this is the map of the West Bank. As you know, that Palestine in 1967, when Israel occupied the rest and the remaining of historical Palestine, the 22% of Palestine, which is the West Bank and Gaza, East Jerusalem, they enforced two types of regimes in the West Bank and Gaza. One is called the military regime, and was enforced on the majority of the land and the population in the West Bank and Gaza, and left East Jerusalem and also the Golan Heights under Israeli civil administration. So the Palestinians in Jerusalem, including myself and my family, we carry what is referred to as a residency, and we have the residency right in Jerusalem, but we are not considered to be citizens of Palestine or citizens, sorry, of Israel. Therefore, we have to fulfill certain criteria to be able to maintain our situation and status in Jerusalem. Today, there is around 350,000 Palestinians in Jerusalem, in East Jerusalem, who carry the status of being Jerusalemites with an ID or blue ID holder, Israeli ID holder. We have the right to vote in Israeli municipal elections. Majority of Palestinians until today, if more than 95% perhaps more, do not participate in such elections. And we are not allowed to participate in parliamentary election, the Knesset, because we are not considered to be citizens. So we are what Israel referred to it as the population or the threat that is coming from being in this number. Today, the number of Palestinians in Jerusalem and also Israelis, almost we are about 40 to 45% of the demography in Jerusalem, and the rest are Jewish Israelis. Let me just look at, in my cursor in this. I'll show you how the map it look like of the West Bank. And again, perhaps this is not the best map, and I'm not the expert in maps. I apologize in advance. But to show where the settler population are focused in the West Bank, mostly, if you see, are almost all around Jerusalem, but also in areas north of the West Bank and also south of the West Bank, including in the south, including the Hebron area and the Bethlehem area. But if you look and you start, linking the dots with each other, you'll find that these dots could be linked. When they're linked, they create a crescent around the old city of Jerusalem, the 6.5 kilometers, the Palestinian municipal of Jerusalem, East Jerusalem. And that's the plan since day one, is to create, to change the demography of Jerusalem and have more Jewish population, Israeli Jewish population in Jerusalem, outnumbering the Palestinians, forcing them out of their homes and lands, like the case of Sheikh Jarrah or other cases in Jerusalem, in Beit Hanina and others. If you go up in the north, where my cursor is showing, I don't know if you can see it, that's where the area of in the north near Tulkarem and Qalqilia. And if we put a layer of the wall over here, we see that the wall is actually taking most of these settlements inside Israel. However, what remains is some of these settlements around. I wish that I had a different map. Sorry again for that. To show you that the wall itself, when it was built, was designed not to enforce what Israel referred to the security of Israel, but rather to take as much as land from the Palestinian with as little Palestinians as they can, by bringing and taking the settlements and the settlers inside Israel. And you can see that, you can witness that in the green line area between the West Bank and Israel, in the Tulkarem, Qalqilia, down to Ramallah area, and then to Jerusalem, and from there to the south of Bethlehem and Hebron. The Jordan Valley on the right side, which constitute 28% of the land in the West Bank, you will not find this big, humongous settlement in the Jordan Valley, but you'll find, if you drive in road 90 to the north, the road that links between the intersection of the Dead Sea to the north of Pisan, you'll find that this area is being heavily has been cultivated with greenery by planting thousands, if not millions, of palm trees in this area, banana trees, and so on. So if you think about it, that this area, it is which in the past used to be the food basket of for the West Bank. Today, it is the food basket and the area where Israel are profiting from the Jordan Valley. You will not find a big population of settlers in the Jordan Valley, but you'll find a bigger you have a small population of settlers and settlements. Most of the settlements are, again, economic settlers who are living, benefiting from this area because Israel, as a military, as a regime, give them the benefits and to use the land and to make profit out of it. This is and then when we look at the Dead Sea, for example, Palestinians are not allowed to invest in the area of the Dead Sea, despite that this area can bring, with the Jordan Valley, bring good support for the development of Palestine and for the Palestinian economy. Israel depriving Palestinians from using this land from the Dead Sea. Israel is in fact are using and taking advantage of the land and the natural resources, minerals and so on, stones and so on, and to profit from it. We can. And I'm gonna stop sharing here. I think there's another map. Probably I'll show it to you just to give you another sense, if I can find it. Okay, sorry about that. Maybe not the same one. Okay. Hold on, just a second. Sorry about that again. Let me take it out from my. Can you see this map with Omar? Can you see it? If anybody can you see a map of, says Israel settler population in the Jordan Valley?
شايفينها احنا in Jordan 2020.
Yes, so basically this is just to show like how the number of settlers and settlements in the Jordan Valley. Today there's around 11,000 in this, and usually these 11,000 don't reside, most of them in these areas. They're profiting and benefiting from there. It's a matter of exploitation of the land rather than living in that area. So when we talk about the Jordan Valley, again, this is just the strip that I mentioned earlier, the 28% of the West Bank, and to show that this is a vast land that is, it's rich in the soil, and also because it is considered to be the lowest point on Earth, so the oxygen in that area is higher than elsewhere in the West Bank. Therefore, many crops, including the palm trees, grow fast and in this area, including other vegetable and fruit crops in the West Bank. I'm gonna stop sharing, I guess, maps just to talk a little bit about the settlers. Well, just to understand, so when we talk about settlement, we talk about settlement enterprise. We're not talking about settlement, just the fact that they're building a settlement in one area, and they're, the Israeli government are issuing building permit in settlements in the West Bank, like the one today that, the Israeli have announced number of settler planning of new settlements in the West Bank. It's not only the fact that they're building the settlement, it is the fact that there is other layers on top of it, is that Palestinians are deprived from the land, deprived from their natural resources. In the end of the day, if we are looking at a Palestinian future state, Palestinians have no land remained to build their own state, or natural resources for them to build their state also. On top of that layer, and on top of other layers, is also the settler population. And today the number of settlers is around 700,000. Israelis usually use bigger numbers. and you know that numbers is it's also a tool to show to the world and to to enforce the fact that the settlers are a fact on the ground and it's difficult to change or difficult to move. Therefore, we have to, as international community, let alone Palestinians, to accept the fact that these people are living in this area. So to enforce this fact, they build the settlements, they build the wall, they build the roads, they build certain special roads for settlements to settlers to connect to the settlements. Some roads are not allowed for Palestinians, and some roads are, usually are developed roads, and for the Palestinians are usually the underpass roads that are underdeveloped or will not be developed in the future. That's one layer. The second layer is also the checkpoints and the terminals and the military permit regime, who force and in a way block people from entering into their lands, whether it is their land that they want to cultivate or even to the land that their homes, by creating these permit regime. A Palestinian, if he wants, he or she or the family wants to enter to their land, they have to apply for a certain special permit through the Israeli military. If you take, for example, Easter as an example, a Palestinian holiday, not only a Christian holiday, but it is a Palestinian holiday. Many Christians from the West Bank, including Bethlehem, Beit Sahur, other areas in the Jenin or Ramallah or Gaza, they need to apply for a permit, and usually permits are not given to all families. Some of the family members are not allowed to enter into the Holy Week of Easter. So almost on a yearly basis, you will find that Palestinians are forced out, blocked from connecting with their homeland, from their heritage, from their religious sites. Whether it is Easter or it's Ramadan, Ramadan is approaching, and every Ramadan, almost in the last few years, you find that there is a huge presence of police who are and security guards who create this difficult situation for the people in Jerusalem, or the Palestinians who wants to visit Jerusalem during Ramadan. The settler violence and the settler population. When we talk about settlers, many settlers who are residing and living in the West Bank, they're living because it is cheaper for them. It's subsidized by the government, and it's closer to their businesses or to their where they work. For example, the settlement of Ma'al Adumim, the eastern side of in the east side of Jerusalem, eastern part of Jerusalem, which go deep around 16 kilometers deep inside the West Bank or in the Jerusalem area. There is around 30,000 settlers who are living in an area of a land around 60 kilometers, almost bigger than the size of Tel Aviv. These settlers commute on a daily basis to their jobs or work in West Jerusalem. However, if you look at Bethany on the other side, and Abu Dis, another Palestinian neighborhood, since the war, these people have to drive further to Qalandia, if they have permit, to enter into the West Bank, which in the end, Israel managed to, rather than disconnection of these families of Bethany, traditionally and historically part of Jerusalem, now they are disconnected from the center, and now they are connected further more with Bethlehem or other areas nearby. So they had to change their lifestyle. Rather than they usually send their children to schools in Jerusalem, now they have to send them to areas in in the neighboring or in the neighborhood around them. Just to talk a little bit more about the settlers and the settler population. And it's not the nicest thing to say or to talk about, but there is an increase of settler violence, extremists who are equipped not only with guns but equipped with ideas and with religious beliefs that they are, they are the exclusive society who have the right to take your land or to kick you out from the land or to burn your house or to burn your car and to do whatever, because in the end the police or the security apparatus or the security system in Israel have not managed to hold to take them accountable for the work and the actions that they did. And if you look at multiple reports by Beit Salem or Peace Now, an Israeli organization, about settler population, you'll find that in a way that the government or the security are closing or giving a blind eye to to the violence that's taking place to the settlers and the settlers. You have young settlers, youth in the ages of less than, probably between the age of 13 to 16 or 18, who are carrying guns and who feel that they have the license to to threaten and to terrorize people, whether it is a farmer who wants to harvest his or a family wants to harvest their olive crops in the West Bank. There is areas in the West Bank like Nablus or in Hebron. The settler are active in their violence against Palestinians. Today, in the Israeli government, there is ministers who are settlers. I mean, that former they had also settlers in it, but today those are the settlers who are don't feel that they have to conceal their identity. They are the ones, for example, you have the person who is in charge of security, Ben-Gvir, is the one who were attacking people in Hebron when he was growing up. And today, before he was appointed as the minister, he was carrying a gun in Sheikh Jarrah, pointing it at residents of Sheikh Jarrah, Palestinian residents of Sheikh Jarrah. You have different settlers and people in the government who call on the transfer of Palestinians from their land. They don't see Palestinian as part of this land. And again, in a plan that of building the settlement doesn't only stop in building a settlement, but goes beyond that by making lives of Palestinians much difficult and forcing them out of Palestine. However, today, if we look at population and demography between Palestinians, and I really don't like using the word, that Jewish and Muslim and Christian, but the fact that today in Palestine, between Israel, between the sea and the river, today the Palestinians, Christians and Muslims are outnumbering the Jewish population. However, I have to say, and also I have to say that the Jewish population, not everybody is buying in, just to be fair also, not buying into supporting their government actions. And we do feel like we do get support from Jewish activists in the world, in the US, in Europe, much more, perhaps, and maybe this is not the nice diplomatic way to say, from our brothers in some Arab countries. So I stop here. I came. I have to say I did not came very prepared, but I think now I just captured or gave you shedded the light on the settlement issue. And if you have any questions regarding what I have mentioned, or you have further questions about other things, just please go ahead and we can start by taking names or taking a few questions.
Thank you very much, Ashraf. We encourage people. I saw in the beginning, people were writing also what part of the world they're joining us with. So if you haven't, I mean, it's amazing. So many people from so many different parts of the world are with us. So if you haven't, please put it. I think many people are interested to know who's with us in the meeting.
And Omar, I see that there's questions already in the chat box.
There are multiple questions.
So if do you like me to look at some of these questions, try to give some answers, or
yeah,
how do you
I will. So people are I'll go through the questions. So the first question is, where do most settlers work, and what's the main source of income for settlers?
I mean, again, you'll have depends on where the settlers are living and their proximity to the city center of Jerusalem or other areas. They can be working they can be in the military. They are working in the government. They can be working in businesses. So I mean, they vary. I mean, there's no, settlers are only working in growing things. No, I mean, there's the fact that Israel have created the settlements have allowed for more people who are not necessarily fanatic, again, religious, who believe that the West Bank are part of the, the religious, it's part of, what is Yehuda and Samira. But they get they get closer, because they are very close to it's cheaper to live in settlements. So it varies from one area and another. And I have to say that also settlers, not necessarily settlers who are some are new immigrants from Russia, from France. I mean, like, for example, there is a big population. There is a population not necessarily big in the Action settlements, French. I mean, you go there and if you know French, you can communicate with them easily. You have a big settlements of religious groups, like Hiradim, religious, so these usually don't work, they make babies. So it depends, where the settlers and where they are located.
Could you please clarify, because sometimes we hear in the news, that's a question I'm just building on it. Sometimes you hear in the news that they stop building settlements, new settlements. Sometimes they mention about expanding existing settlements. What's the difference, especially also from the international human rights perspective and law?
Well, just to say that the settlements, important to say that the settlements are being built in occupied territory, therefore they are considered to be, according to the international law and humanitarian law, are a breach of and considered to be violation of international law. And you have the ICJ ruling who talked about the settlements, and you have multiple UN resolutions, including the UN Security Council resolution, who talk about that settlements are illegal. So there is an issue of illegality of the settlements. So Israel used different names, different of planning settlements, giving them tendering settlements, issuing permits for settlements, and the settlements are usually being built by big developer companies, big businesses, contractors who does that, who unfortunately I have to say, just also to admit that most of the people who build these settlements, the labor are Palestinians, not internationals. They tried one time to bring some population from Asia, but it did not work for them because it's Palestinian labor are perhaps skilled, they know the land, they're probably cheaper, and they go back to their home. So the Asians you have to build homes for them, to shelter them, and so on. So it's not Dubai, it's not the Arab Emirates, or that you have to create a business out of it. Today, Israel have said that they will not build more settlements or they will not announce more settlements that they already announced a couple of weeks ago. But if you look at the tender, or look at what Israel have announced in the last couple of years, literally you will find it's easy to fill these settlements with the settlement units with more than to include more to reach 2 million settlers, and that's the goal, is to reach a higher number of settlers. The higher number of settlers create a new reality on the ground, making it difficult for international condemnation to have any grounds, because in the end, we say that where we are gonna take these people out, how we, because these are living here, they've been living there for a couple of generations and so on. However, I have to say that you have to also remember that Israel managed to take settlers several times from occupied territory, including Sinai, Gaza, and areas of the West Bank. So it's not a difficult reality to retransfer the settlers to Israel, to remove them, to take them out of the occupied territory, if Israel looking for ending the conflict, ending its occupation, and do want to have a solution based on the two-state solution. But what we are witnessing is the opposite. The only time that we saw that Israelis are looking for perhaps changing this path, maybe during Rabin, when he was the prime minister and he was assassinated, or during Olmert, and he was also politically assassinated by being indicted for corruption and other areas. I don't see today in Israel a government nor a leader who wants to take a different route. You have to think that you have to also see that today the people, the leaders, are populist, so they don't look at the sustainability, let's say, of that state, of their state. They think that by building more settlements, by forcing people out, it will be the end of the story. Perhaps, I'm not sure, but perhaps that they are managing, because they're clearly with absence of accountability and international responsibility. Of course, they're continuing with this. And just the recent Security Council resolution, or that wasn't resolution, even it was an announcement. It's also, proof again and again that more the international community, led by the US and the European Union or European countries, want to change the status quo, or want to strengthen or to build to create a new reality. I don't see that today.
Do you see settler violence against the Palestinians? There's many questions, Ashraf, so we have to be
Yeah.
prepared.
Help me with
So do you see settler violence against the Palestinians getting worse now that there's a far-right government in Israel?
I think the settler violence has been happening for the last couple of years. If you remember the killing and the burning of the child, the baby, the Wabshe, and also the kidnapping of Abu Khtair in Jerusalem and burning 16 years old and burning him alive. And it happened during the time when governments were, less, let's say, did not include such, right-wing and extremists. However, it happened. And again, it happened because there is no accountability. There's no real enforcement, and there is no, from the Israeli government or from the Israeli security, because in the end they will know who did burn these homes, who burned these cars, who wrote in Hebrew death to Arabs. They should know, because every day Israelis are managing to arrest Palestinians in the West Bank, including Jerusalem, on multiple accusations, because according to them, that these people are activists. They have wrote something in Facebook or in social media against Israel, so they monitor. I mean, the security system in Israel are very strong, and they know, like, if anybody, a Palestinian in the West Bank, have a bullet, not necessarily a gun, they will know that that bullet is sitting somewhere in that. So they know. So they definitely know the settlers, and they know that who are the settlers who are being very violent against Palestinians. However, again, they're not taking any action against them, because it's part of the whole game. Make your life difficult. You will choose either to take the beating or pack your stuff and leave. And so far, Palestinians are stubborn. Unfortunately, they're dealing with stubborn people. So we're not leaving anymore. We're forced out during 48 and 47, but I don't think Palestinians are ready to move out that soon.
Many of the settlements have Palestinians from neighboring villages working in them, and most of the time the workers are working in land that was confiscated by them.
Yes.
So, what are the main economic activities in the occupied territories, and how many Palestinians are employed in settlements?
I don't have an exact figure, but the Palestinian labor in Israel and also in settlements are in thousands. I can give you a number or get you a report that and I can send it through Omar, so you will have it. You'll have it or a link for that report. But you have to ask why Palestinians are working in settlements, why they're working in Israel, because Palestinian territory, again, is occupied, under siege, and Palestinians are not allowed to invest freely in their land or in their natural resources. I mentioned the Dead Sea, for example. That area itself, around the Dead Sea, the 67 area, if Israel allow the Palestinians to build, let's say, tourism hubs like hotels and other recreational areas, that could easily bring people, will create jobs for the people in Jericho or in the areas of the Jordan Valley. if Israel is allowing us to cultivate our lands in Jordan Valley, or to access our land in the West Bank and be able to build new cities in it and lands, that will create new job opportunity for Palestinians. Palestinians are, young generation today are working in technology and tech, and if it's a chance and opportunity are given to them, which are given to them by Israelis, and some Palestinian companies are actually working, modestly in the West Bank and Gaza. But if they are giving the chance, that will also support our Palestinian economy. The Palestinian economy is being depleted due to the fact that Israelis are first withholding, taking the tax money hostage. That's supposed to come back to the Palestinian people, to the government of Palestine. So that's one thing. The second thing, we're not, we don't have a control we don't have a sovereignty on our land or on our spheres. If you look at telecommunication, for example, Israel are not allowing until today for Palestinian companies to have 4G generation, 4G or 4 generation. In Palestine, they have 3G. Why is that? Because there is Israeli companies are profiting from the market in the West Bank, and that's so they're not going to give it to the Palestinians, give it to them that easy. I was part in the conference called the World Radio Conference a couple of years ago, and it was clear call from over 160 countries for Palestinians to obtain the right for new technology, and Israel did not fulfill it until today. That's one example. Another example.
There's a question. Are you aware, or do you have any information about the potato farmers, settlers in the West Bank and the Jordan Valley?
Potato farmers?
Yes.
No, I'm not allowed, but I can check it out for you, but I don't have any information on that. I know that there was times when I did the report on the Jordan Valley, and that was a couple of years ago, when we were interviewing farmers, Palestinian farmers. They told us that we don't necessarily choose our own crops. The settler and the Israeli, are the ones who telling us what to grow and what not to grow in our own land. So because they, for example, if they grow, let's say, potatoes, they will not allow us to grow potatoes. Okay. In the end of the day, is to grow a potato, you need to have a land and you need to have water. Water is another issue. What is major issue is that the scarcity of water, but because water is being controlled by Israel, people in the West Bank, the settlers, are using 6 times the amount of water that Palestinians. So water is not there all the time. So if you are driving in the West Bank, you'll find the big black tanks. And probably somebody told you, or you were informed that these are water reservoirs. Look at on the other side, the settlers, you will find no reservoirs because water is always there for them. Okay. Is there more questions? But I don't know anything about potato farming, but I'd be interested to hear to read about it.
If settlements are so entrenched, does this suggest a one-state solution?
Say that I did not look at the question.
If settlements are so entrenched, does this suggest a one-state solution?
It is a reality of, you can look at it as, you call it an apartheid regime. You can call it that, Israelis have created two systems, one system for the settlers and one system for the Palestinians. Israel will not call it one state solution. One state solution means that you need to give Israel to be democratic, and democracy meaning that Palestinians in the West Bank will have the right to vote in Israeli elections, and demography probably will play a huge role in changing how Israel is look like today or in the future.
What is the source of the violence of some of the settlers? Is it ideological? Is it religious? Is it?
I think entitlement. I think it's all about entitlement. You feel like you are entitled as a human being, and you don't see the other as a human being. You see that this is my land. I took it from you by force. I came one day. You were sleeping in a bed with your family. I forced you out. I'm sleeping in your bed. I'm eating your food. I'm drinking your water, and it's an entitlement. So this is how how it starts. It is ideological. Of course, you have to feed it. You have to feed young people and others, different ages, with ideas that we are the only chosen people. We are exclusive. Palestinians have no right to live here. These villages where Palestinians live there used to be part of the land of Israel. I mean, it's easily you can manipulate people's minds. But like you have to create. First, you have to give them, to give them to have a base. So you just allow it.
Many settlers carry firearms, and many of them are in the army or work with the army. Is there still a difference between settlers and the army?
Settlers are agents for the occupation. Again, settlers will not be in settlements, and settlements will not be built if there is no government who's giving them this or serving them or giving them the right and allowing them to do what they're doing today. If a settler is not being, look at, for example, Hebron and H2 area. For every settler, there are 6 soldiers. Remove the 6 soldiers, the settler will not stay there. He will leave because he will feel like he is not protected. He's carrying a gun, yes, but he doesn't have the military, the army, holding it. Just a few months ago, or the Israelis themselves talked about it, that almost half of the Israeli army in the West Bank. What for? Enforcing the occupation. So, yeah.
Can you please give an update on the settlements in East Jerusalem, especially Sheikh Jarrah, Silwan neighborhoods?
Yeah.
Also.
Well, Sheikh Jarrah and Silwan and other neighborhoods around the old city have this common factor of why Israelis want to build, forcing people out and want to take their homes and to build settlements. You have the old city, the 1 kilometer square of the old city. They tried in the beginning by ejecting Jewish population by first destroying neighborhoods inside the old city, like the Moroccan quarter. But the population still in the old city is not, majority of them are Palestinians, Christians and Muslims. So you go outside the walls of the old city, you'll find West Jerusalem is already being secured because in 1948 they already built settlements in it, like Ma'al Dafna and other areas in West Jerusalem. So what's remaining is the second half, what I referred to as the crescent earlier, that surrounds the old city. Those are Palestinian neighborhoods. Sheikh Jarrah, it's an old neighborhood. Many Palestinians who lived, who had homes in the old city, end up building homes either in West Jerusalem or in neighborhoods like Sheikh Jarrah. For example, if you go to homes like in Meshashibi or and others, my family's house actually was built in the 30s, but there's homes like these were built before the 1900. People moved out because they want to build a bigger house, whatever, have a better life. And so in 1967, Israel started building settlements in areas in Sheikh Jarrah itself. Ma'al Dafna, for example, it is in Sheikh Jarrah, but that area where they were easily forcing people, there wasn't a lot of homes there, except my family's home and another couple of homes, but it was mostly land that is grown by the area, by people from the neighboring villages. So they start building settlement there. Okay, so if you look at the green line, if you look at the road that takes you from, let's say, from Beit Hanina to the old city, it is not actually sitting on the green line because it is not the green line, the road itself. It is the road that in a way kind of like divide west with east, but it is not really dividing east and west. So they build this road, this highway, and now they want to expand their settlement in Sheikh Jarrah. So in Sheikh Jarrah, they end up looking into neighborhoods of Palestinians who are refugees, who resided in these homes due to an agreement between the Jordanian government before '67 and United Nations UNRWA to reside them, so they will have their homes. These people have homes in West Jerusalem, but they are not allowed to go back to their homes. So Israel, what they did, they said that okay, these homes belong to Jewish families. Family came from nowhere through an agency, and they filed a lawsuit against these families, and they start taking one family at a time. They removed one family 10 years ago or more, and they managed to remove another 2 families. Now there is another 3 families or 4 families or 4 who are being threatened to be removed from their homes. The plan, which is already being announced a few years ago, that they will build a settlement. They will raise these homes, and they will build a settlement around tens of settlement units in that neighborhood. You look at another area of Sheikh Jarrah, they use the same method by claiming that these land belong to a Jewish family before 1967 or before 1948 and more. And again, I have to say that we cannot deny that the fact that there was Jewish families who were living there or living anywhere. But also, you cannot deny the fact that Palestinians had their homes in Jerusalem or elsewhere in Palestine. But because Israel using a law, different laws, including that these laws are, that absentee law, that if you're a Palestinian leave the country for a few years, you consider to be absent, and the ones who are left forced out after 67 were considered to be absent, or for 48, and therefore this land belonged to the custodian of the Israeli having custody on this land. Silwan, you go to Silwan, they use a different method. They said this land where Palestinians live used to be a part of David's King David, and he used to walk in this Silwan where the water, the spring, and he used to take a bath there and so on. And they want to recreate what they call it this biblical gardens or biblical neighborhood where and to do that they will force people out, either by by forging papers, documents that they say that these are owned by that, or also by some members of some Palestinian families who end up selling their share in the land, in the home, and they take over the land. I mean, there's multiple ways. Just soon, or this week, they were talking about demolishing a building in Silwan on the pretext that this building were built illegally without permit. Building permit is an issue in Jerusalem because Palestinians, to build a permit, you need to own a bank, and not necessarily need only to own money, but also you have to have a big, you have to somehow do something, to able to apply for a permit. Permits in Jerusalem is difficult, very expensive, and some people end up building homes because they want to because the families are growing and being and they need space. So there is tens, not hundreds of homes that are being considered to be illegally built without building permit in Jerusalem.
Unfortunately, Ashraf, we're running out of time. Each week on the Kumi Now website, we ask people to do a certain action to encourage nonviolent resistance to the occupation. So I hope everybody has received the action through the newsletter. But the action for this week is we want to raise awareness on settler violence, especially this week. Also, we commemorate as Palestinians the Ibrahimi Mosque massacre, when an Israeli settler went into a mosque and killed 29 Palestinians while they were praying. We are also encouraging people to support the Open Shuhada street. The main street in Hebron city Palestinians are not allowed to walk on it, or for shop owners to reopen their shops. So we encourage you to spread awareness and to among your friends, communities, churches, organizations on the Open Shuhada campaign, and we need to continue to echo the voices of the people from Palestine, people living under occupation. Ashraf, thank you very much for being with us. We hope to host you again in a different meeting. We'd also like you to send us also, if you have the website, please send it to Ryan and we will send it in the newsletter.
Thank you very much. I don't have a website. We don't have a website yet, but we're working on a website. But we can furnish you some information about the work that we do. Perhaps in a different time we can talk a little bit more about talk about my other work. But thank you very much for your time. I hope that I did not speak very fast or quick. I try not to speak with Arkansas accent or Arkansas accent. I lost it a long time ago. But thank you very much. This has been very good for me also to learn more about things related to us. The potato issue, I need to learn about it and other things. And if you need anything, you, Omar, have my contact he can furnish it to you. Thank you very much, and have a
Thank you
nice
very
day,
much,
morning,
Ashram.
and evening. Thank you.
Thank you, friends. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.